This is episode 70, and today I have a conversation with artist Amy Jobs. Amy is an artist who paints imaginary or impressionistic landscapes inspired by the nature she lives in. She's currently also one of the artist mentors of the VAA, that's the Visual Artist Association, of which I'm also part of. And I encourage you, all artists who listen to this and don't know this, to become part of that amazing association. So, welcome, Amy. I really love it to have you as my guest.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for asking me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. A real honor.
Well, it's an honor to have you, and that you really came. Not everyone does that, you know.
Really?
So I just jump in. You studied biology and geography, inspired by the nature around you. What exactly made you go into painting? Or maybe better, why didn't you choose the arts to start with, to begin with?
It's a great question. I find myself answering this question quite a lot. So, I studied biology and geography and art at A level, and I loved all the subjects, but my real passion was the art and design. Any opportunity I could, I'd be back in that room. And I really did want to study art at degree level. It really came down to being financially sensible. It's very boring, but I just wanted to be financially independent and live independently, have my own car, have a good social life, kind of go on a holiday. And I took what I saw as the more sensible option, really purely down to finances. So
Happens so much.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? I felt like I wasn't well connected in the art world. You know, I'd been selling work since I was 15. I did a whole load of pet portrait commissions. At the time, they were quite fine graphite drawings. And I did some other commissions as well. I did a sketch map of the New Forest and painted the flora and fauna in watercolor. And I worked for some educational posters in watercolor. So a whole range of things. So I knew that I could make money from it. I just felt like if I did a science degree, I'd be able to get a proper job.
Is that coming from you, or were you brought up that way? Because I hear this so many times, and it's often the parents who say, yeah,
no,
just choose a proper job.
No, my parents were very so at the time when I was making these decisions, they were ending their marriage. They were completely immersed in their own world.
In their own world.
So I was very, very independent from the age of 17 in terms of making my own decisions and feeling like I just had to stand on my own 2 feet. Yeah. So it wasn't pressure from them. It was me being really clear that I didn't want to have to rely on anyone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I love the West Country. I love the southwest of England. So I set my sights on Bristol and Exeter, and I actually got into Bristol. I got accepted on the geography course, but I chose Exeter because I paid my way through uni, and it was cheaper to live there. But also, I love the campus. Uni, I love the fact that it was all on one beautiful campus, and it was a brilliant time. I loved going to Exeter Uni, and why I chose biology and geography, going back to the nature theme, I always said that it's the one subject that isn't created by humans. Nature's going to be there without us.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If I studied politics or economics, and it's all just made up by us humans. Yeah. And I like the fact that the way that nature, the organic nature of it, I love the way that it is, and it just keeps on emerging, and that these are systems that we haven't created. I find that really fascinating.
It is.
We don't have any control over it. Obviously, we are affecting it but we don't fundamentally control what it does. So that really appeals to me.
That's very true. And I like that because, you know, when we were locked up in our rooms, in our houses, nature restored itself like crazy in no time.
Yeah.
But we try to manipulate and manufacture everything, try to control it. And I think that's but you can't control nature. Well, you can, but well, you see what happens.
Yeah, it's detrimental, I think.
Yeah. So you studied that, then you went into arts. When did that happen? When did you had like, okay, I've had it. This is not what I want. It needs to be art.
Okay. So I did a number of jobs. I moved to Bristol after going to Exeter Uni, then traveling for a bit, and then I moved to Bristol. And I worked in a small company. It was a promotional gift house, and they also produced calendars and diaries. And there was an artwork department in this company with graphic designers. And you know what? I just even love the word art. And I'd get these emails coming through from that department who I worked really closely with, and it had the word artwork in it in the email. And I just was like, this is where I need to be, you know. So it was always, this is in my heart, this is truly me. And I never stopped painting, you know. While I was working, I was always doing different life drawing classes and evening painting classes, and always had a steady stream of commissions as well. I never stopped creating. And I really wanted to work with the Environment Agency. That's what I had my goal set on, working there. And their head office, one of their head offices was in Bristol. So I remember applying for them, I didn't get in, and then got some more experience behind me working for this small business, and then I applied again. I got into the Environment Agency, and I thought, if I can't be an artist, then I'd like to help to communicate to people about the environment. You know, in my mind, I had like creating leaflets, for example, to communicate different environmental issues. And that, you know, you could do that working for a charity. Yep. For me, working at the Environment Agency was the kind of level that I wanted. So I ended up doing that, actually. I ended up writing leaflets and concise communications about climate change. I worked on climate change for about 8 years there.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it was an incredible experience, and I learned how to conduct myself professionally. You know, I mean, I'm old enough. I didn't grow up with computers around, so I had to start learning about computers when I was at uni and working with them. I was web publishing. It was something that I'm comfortable with, and I think that's a good foundation for running any business. And
nowadays, I mean, you need to know something about a computer, definitely.
Yeah, because it's really helped me with my reach, you know. It's using computers that has helped me to get to where I am now.
Yeah. And so, and you just mentioned it, so you kind of answered the question. You say you're self-taught, but often self-taught, or most of the time, self-taught leads to a dead end because you simply can't know what you don't know. And how did you overcome those issues on your journey?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a mixture of both. So going back to my GCSE A-level times, I had a really excellent art teacher. He was really great, like art history, all about composition, use of color theory. I mean, gosh, whenever I've retrained, if I've ever joined any workshop or course, I'm like, yeah, I know this. You know, it's a revision for me because he taught me when I was at a young age. And I've had feedback that I'm a good listener and I take things on board and I actually apply them. which is really quite key when you're learning anything, and when you're trying to achieve any goals as well. So yeah, like I really took on board everything he taught me. And there's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot to learn.
There's so much to learn. So much to learn.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I can see it in your work that you know about perspective, and you know about the depth with your colors, even though it's an imaginary landscape. That landscape doesn't fall off the canvas.
No.
What you see if people don't understand perspective, for instance, which you also can give a body when you use color solely, but you need to do you need to know that. So but you say that already you had a very good teacher. And by the way, the fact that he taught you color theory is something that in design, fashion industries learn, but not in art schools. An academy, they don't teach you color theory.
Really? Okay.
No. You're focused on the values, so, and it's a minimal palette.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that is a plus.
I mean, you can achieve a lot, you can achieve perspective with value as well. Obviously, the darker tones are going to be in the foreground, and as you get in the distance, it's lighter, and things like the saturated colors are in the foreground as well. And then as you go into the distance, it's more muted. And all of these things I have locked into my brain. So even when I'm working really quickly, I'm still applying those theories, even if it's subconscious.
Well, it's I think when you learn things like that in a young age, it because your brain waves are on alpha state, you inhabit that. It becomes a second nature. And that's what it should be, isn't it?
And going back to me saying that I'm self-taught, I'm thinking maybe I should take it down, because it's not true. I'm not. I just haven't done an art degree, but I've had some incredible teachers through the whole journey, and I love learning. So even YouTube, if I need to refresh, there's so much theory around how to construct an oil painting with integrity, for example, and I'll go back and refresh, fat over lean, thick over thin, all of that, making sure that.
But that is so true. And yesterday I noticed that the National Gallery, someone put that online, from this French Postimpressionist. Gosh, forgot his name, but he, and she or he said, remember, he was self-taught and sold his whole life. Well, first of all, it's not true. He was a lawyer and had advice, he admitted, from prolific academics. And so he had his courses. At one point, everyone did some kind of teaching or education. And it doesn't need to be a degree. I don't have a degree because what I wanted is you can't learn that on the academy. It's as simple as that.
That did actually come into the equation. So, I did the research and I asked people who had studied art at degree level. And I mean, I know it's not the same for everyone, but I heard some horror stories, people saying, well, I was actually really put off. I enjoyed my foundation year, and then actually I was sent down a route that wasn't true to myself, and I don't like painting anymore. And I just did not want that to happen to me, knowing how important it was to me and how present I am when I'm painting, when I'm creating. And
in flow.
When you can get into that flow state, it's an act of meditation. It's a really powerful tool to carry you through this life. Right?
Absolutely. You forget everything.
I think everyone needs something in their own lives. It could be a sport, it could be reading,
as long as it comes from the heart. I think we all need to do something that comes from the heart, really, honestly, and with integrity. absolutely. Yeah. So I look at your paintings and I love them.
Thank you.
And I noticed you use impressionism to define your style. And I did recently an episode specifically about expressionism and explained
Oh,
that
right. Okay.
those terms or those isms
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
not positive to start with at all. They were
Mm.
condemning because by either to condemn by artists the predecessors or by people who wanted to have that like that because this is the rule, this is how you paint, you can't change that.
Yeah.
And then it were art historians who used them to box in a period and the artists, though artists always went loose and then I had to oh my god, now what? Yeah, so and now I see that artists use them themselves and have like, why is it that you use impressionism?
Sure.
And I added like, why wouldn't you call it post-impressionism? And how important do you think that is, that you qualify yourself in that way?
Okay, so I'm not looking to box myself in to any kind of niche in that sense. And I completely get what you mean in terms of like art historians. It's a period of time, isn't it? And I'm not in that. I'm contemporary, so it doesn't actually make sense in that way. For me, I've chosen those words because I like the painterly style. You know, I'm not trying to create photorealistic landscapes. I love seeing the brushstrokes. I love artwork that's quite immediate. I like working alla prima. My best pieces come out in one go, I think. And it was more for the online marketing, really, to be truthful. So people can find a kind of painterly, abstracted but not abstract landscape.
Yeah, because they're not abstract.
I felt like so I've kind of verged between is it impressionism, is my work expressionism, because sometimes like my smaller Ocean Piranha series is more expressionist. I feel like it's capturing an energy and a feeling and a movement, not trying to say this is exactly how this wave looked at the time. You know, it's trying to capture how I felt when I came out of the sea, for example. So yeah, it's more, I just think that the impressionism describes my style of art in the best way if you're doing an online search. So when
I understand that. So that's a very clever way because people know that term, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they have an idea of what art fits to that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of know what you're going to get before you see it. You know that you're going to be able to see the brushstrokes I use, and maybe the colors aren't going to be, well, my colors are pretty out there. They're not going to be true to life, you know. But I don't feel like, I feel like my paintings are recognizable. You know, if you know the beaches that I paint, you will be able to, you get that view, you know, you can see where it is. So it's not abstract either.
I don't see them as abstract for what I've seen online. I don't see that as abstract at all.
Yeah, maybe abstracted because I always put my own
stylized maybe, but then that sounds to me very more modern type of and so no, I thought also about maybe, but I understand post imaginary, like, but it is also not completely imaginary because you stand there. I saw a photo you standing in the land with your easel. So but it's clever. It's clever. I learned something here.
I think
I have to find a term for my art then, because people recognize that and they probably look for that. Yeah.
I feel like the word emotive describes my work better than anything any other word, because I'm really I'm painting what I feel as much as I'm painting what I see.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but yeah, you know, it's going out into those natural landscapes that makes me want to paint. And it's the feeling I'm trying to capture in my paintings.
Exactly.
I really hope that, I mean, I think that all the originals, you know, all original art, they have their own personalities, these paintings, and they have a feeling. And I just hope that I'm capturing that emotion and it comes back out through the art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so we were in nature. So let's go to nature. And how much awareness can you bring to people about the importance of caring for wildlife and nature? And do you think art can make a difference?
It's a great question. It's a big question as well.
I know.
Obviously, we're in troubled times. You know, I wanted to work on climate change because I see climate change and inequality as our biggest issues on the planet. And yeah, I really, really wanted to change the world, you know, desperately. And especially after I had my second child, and the new climate projections came out 2017. And when I was working on climate change, we're always looking at 2100 as when it's going to get quite bad. And these new projections were saying, well, actually, no, that's happening now. And I was like, oh, God. Okay. And I just had another baby. And I really wanted to save the world. So I did all kinds of activism. I went into politics. I stood as a candidate 3 times for my local Green Party and worked with Extinction Rebellion for a bit. I felt really desperate, you know. But most of it was armchair activism. And
you see that a lot.
Yeah. You know,
you see that a lot.
Posting on Facebook and just getting ignored. And it was actually my siblings, they sat me down and like, Amy, you got to stop doing this. Like, you're exhausting yourself and no one's paying any attention.
Well, I honestly do not really think that's the case. I think
really
people, I've seen here in the Netherlands. I'm currently in the Netherlands for a while. That's my artist retreat that I created myself.
Oh, amazing.
But it is or residency. There's an orchestra here. And they came together and they played on the A12 against climate change. And they were refused to bring their instruments. They obviously have very valuable instruments. And I bet the police doesn't dare to harm those. But they created exactly the same music by mimicking and singing it. And it sounded brilliant. Like, you can't change us. And I think there's so many things going on in the world. There are 2 parts. And if we bring more positive energy into the world, then it helps. And I think, well, that's my idea, that if we bring color and beauty and make people aware of with art, with what we do as artists, then that is such a positive energy that definitely has an impact.
Yes, I completely agree. So yeah, that's really why I turned back to art, because I felt like the activism wasn't really making as much difference as I wanted it to be. And I really feel like art has the power to influence much more than politics or even maybe
politics has always an agenda.
Exactly. I was so dismayed at how even at a local level it just seemed pretty corrupt. It's a strong word, but you know,
but it is. I mean, let's be open. I just noticed someone, a friend, my friend here, in whose house I am at the moment, but he told me that he noticed a professor on TV who has done research for years about politics. He says if you have a meter, it is hanging to the left, because everyone is, then you get the election, it swipes through the right, and then when it comes, when the election is over, it hangs there again.
Yeah, it's like a pendulum. Yeah.
Like nothing changes at all, never, ever. They all have a hidden agenda.
I know.
And it doesn't matter if it's right or left, or extreme right or extreme left, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. It's all corrupt. They all have their own agenda. Yeah.
It was very disappointing for me because I really, like I said, I really wanted to make a difference, make some changes, and really felt like I wasn't the right type of person, because I wear my heart on my sleeve, you know. I'm really honest, and I live a wholesome life, and
I love that.
I can't, you know, lying is not something that I'm able to do. So
yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, you know, it's not gonna, I'm not gonna be a very good politician.
No.
What a shame.
I think it's you're better with your art, because there you can have your honesty. It shows, and yeah. That is, I think, the most important thing. I think we as artists have a very important part in what plays at the moment.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And well, so I started off with my landscapes, really feeling like that, trying to help people to find their own connection with nature, or maybe to reconnect with nature, because I feel like especially my generation, you know, we had a lot of time outside as children. I was really lucky in that respect. In my teenage years, I did a lot of horse riding. I mean, yeah, it was, I mean, to go off on tangent a little bit, you know, again, I had to finance that myself, so like working in a pub, and I just feel like anything's possible if you set your mind to it, you know. So even though I wasn't from my parents couldn't help with that, but I loved horses, so I made it happen. And I think that a lot of children have this connection with nature, and then it gets lost, you know. You start working full time and you're busy raising a family, and but unfortunately nowadays I think a lot of kids, they're inside a lot more, aren't they, on screens, and
on screens.
You know, there's a lot more traffic around, and obviously parents are trying to keep them safe. But for me, my most amazing, memorable experience have always been with nature.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I think for most people,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, like, I mean, look on Instagram feed, and you know, there's the sunsets and the dolphins and amazing flocks of birds, and it's magical, isn't it? Nature is truly magical.
I have to be honest. I love London, absolutely, but I will not live there anymore. I go to the outskirts. Maybe I'll come into your direction, but it's always stress. I mean, people in the city are constantly running as if they have a cyber tiger behind their back. that stress level is so high, and it shows also on social media, and people get relaxed when they see trees, and they get relaxed when they see the sea, and it's for a reason that they go outside and that they go on a holiday to the sea or to whatever.
And when you are in a landscape like that, I mean, we've got, you know, vast expansive beaches here in North Devon. They're incredible. I mean, low tide at Saunton, it feels like you're in another world. It could be, I mean, they use Saunton for quite a lot of film sets, you know, because it's just so huge. And Exmoor as well, these big expansive landscapes, the distant horizons, huge skies, and it can make you feel small, but in a really nice way. You know, it's really grounding. It's like it makes things feel like they're in perspective. So you might be worrying, you seen the image of like the blue dot of Earth? And it's
Yeah.
so like this tiny little blue dot, and if you pan out far enough, it's all kind of quite insignificant, isn't it? Like, you know, we
It
can get
is.
really
Yeah.
caught up in our own petty dramas, and of course, you know, your own world that you create is important, but you know, you've got to keep things in perspective, and I feel like these landscapes help me to maintain that perspective. But also going back to the caring for nature, being in these places and holding on to that feeling, it's love, you know. I love these places. I want to care for them. Like, we go on the beach cleans, where each time we go to the beach we're clearing up the plastic pollution, and you know, I want that place to be preserved and kept in the best condition as possible. It's my playground, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But it should be everyone's playground.
Yes, and I'm hoping that the art will help everyone to.
And it will. I believe that. I just want to believe that.
Yeah,
definitely.
But it's gone further than that, though. It's as I've progressed on this journey, it's more about having a connection to yourself, myself as well, and how I feel in that space. And I mean, I call like the beaches are my thin space, where I feel closer to divine energies. And you know, it's something I fully went through the age of not believing, you know, if you've watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks. But I think you know, in our sort of the mainstream society, like, having a spiritual awareness is not really factored in. But I think that if you live your life without it, it can feel like you're carrying around this sort of void, like you've got some part of you missing. And you can try so hard, like you could live in London and be really busy all the time and fill up all of your day, when you're but not feeling fulfilled. This is, you know, just my opinion. And I think that if
I think it is we are all part of this nature, and I go even further. We are the planet.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
and for me, it's more like, and I felt this when I watched on the BBC iPlayer Rivers, and I was so, I suddenly saw it and I felt it. We are one. I mean, the rivers are our veins, the same as our veins. And we put blockages in the rivers. We spit out sewage, water, and filth into the seas, etc. That creates heart effects on the planet. That's what we do with ourselves too. And I suddenly thought, we are all one. I mean, and we need to live in symbiosis with the planet. There is no competition. It's only symbiosis. It can't be anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that interconnectedness is something that you can, I think the first step to tapping into that is to tapping into yourself. And for me, it's been a meditation practice. So it's taking time to pause, to stop. And it, you know, it could be a beautiful beach. It could be just sitting down on your living room floor, you know. If your spine is straight and you give yourself that time and space to clear your thoughts as much as possible. I like guided practices. I'm not so good with just the silence, but you know, you can feel that energy, you know, it's a tingling, and that is real to me.
It is real, because we have a whole electromagnetic field around us.
Yes, we do. So, we are electrical beings, aren't we? I mean, we are nature, aren't we? Like,
we are
absolutely sustains us. And I kind of feel this, like, it seems like there's almost like a push to kind of going like artificial. No. Like, are we gonna I don't know if some people kind of think we're all going to be living inside and eating food that's prepared
from a computer.
You know, when I just like, no, the reality for me is the outdoors, is nature, and tapping into that. That's what's real, and that's what's magical.
Exactly. Yeah.
And,
absolutely agree.
And that's where I feel most alive.
Yeah. And that shows in your work. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Another one. Since several months, I don't know since when, but I think beginning of this year, you are also working as an art mentor for the VAA. As I mentioned just now, before Visual Artists Association. Can you explain to our listeners how exactly you help, guide, or mentor artists that sign up for your mentoring?
Sure, thank you. So I actually set an intention at the beginning of this year to become an artist mentor. It's something that I wanted to do for a while. I've done lots of different events, lots of artists come through, especially for my Open Studios events, for example. And they're asking lots of questions, and I love sharing advice. I love sharing my own experience. I've got a tendency to share advice even when it's not been asked for. It's quite intrinsic for me. So I've actually been through the Visual Artists Association mentorship program, 18 months, and it was amazing. I have made such great gains. And we talk about step changes. I've reached goals that I thought maybe would be 5-10 years down the line. I'm like, yeah, it's incredible. Like when you've got that accountability and that guidance and someone to help you think outside the box and to open up the world of opportunities to you, because there are so many opportunities already there. I mean, Google is the most incredible resource. You could just type in artist residencies in Devon, UK, and see what comes up. They exist. Like just such a simple search, but you can actually create your own opportunities. So it's important to be true to yourself, to be true to your niche, not to try and be a square peg in a round hole. So if you haven't got an opportunity that fits you, create it. People love working with artists. Artists inherently give back. We're all, I've heard that we were quite mysterious, like,
okay.
Artists are like unicorns, like, what do you do all day?
Yeah.
And so when you can collaborate with other businesses, maybe, you could create your own residency, for example. As I've been working as a mentor, I've been fully trained up by the Visual Artists Association. I've been working as a mentor since June, I think, or July. So not that long, but I absolutely love it. I love the work. And like I said at the beginning, I'm a good listener. And I've done this not single-handedly, like I've got like I could thank hundreds of people, along my way. I cannot underemphasize the importance of working with others, actually. But I have done this without any financial backing, for example. And whilst raising 2 children. So it was after we had our first child that, we're just paying so much for childcare and living in Bristol. I was like, well, I'd rather raise my children in a rural setting in the countryside by the sea. Let's just move. Let's just try it. It's reckless, isn't it? But
what is reckless? Come on.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think it's reckless if you sit still on your chair, thinking about being an artist and never do anything. That's reckless.
Yeah, and I've spoken to many people, and this like sad stories. People saying, "Oh, I'll do this when I retire. I'll do that art when I retire," and I can't do it now. I'm too busy. And like, yeah, but if it's that important to you, you wouldn't miss a dentist appointment, would you? You have to block out your time. You have to set yourself appointments in your diary.
Show up for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've done all that. I've done this for 10 years now. I've tried lots of things for selling my work and had success in some areas and not so much in others. You know, I've kind of been there and done that. So as an artist mentor, you know, I can really, really share my own experience. Like, I understand where these artists are coming from. I understand the roller coaster. I mean, the amount of times when I was like, this is just too much, it's too hard, I can't do this anymore. And then next day I start painting, I'm like, oh, and you know, the happy dance is real. It's really real, you know. So yeah, I can really help other artists set their goals, be clear about their vision, set their goals. You know, it's a matter of, what are you trying to achieve, and what do we need to do in that? You know, how do we work backwards from that? How can we break it down into manageable chunks, and then how can we work with that day by day? And I mean, you know, not every day is the same for me. Every day is different, actually. One of the amazing things about my work. And but I'm trying to be the word rigid sounds too harsh, but
consistent, maybe
consistent, yeah, with my studio time. So Mondays, Fridays, studio time. It is really seasonal as well, though. But you know, for example, I try to give myself 3 things to do each day, and no more than that. Like, maybe I might achieve all of those things, tick them off, and then I can put other stuff. But overwhelm is so real, you know. There are 1,000 things you could be busy with, but what's actually gonna be the thing you need to do to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve? And that should be the priority. So I can help artists in that way, because I've done it myself.
Well, I always promote the VAA, because since I found them in January, I really felt so much air in my breast. Like, I was stuck, in a sense, and reading the book, Good Art Doesn't Sell Itself. Oh, was like a relief. There's so many opportunities. There's so many, I need to do this. And I also need to find the gap. What gap do I have, for instance? So I really hope you receive many people through the Visual Artists Association. And you're also now a judge, by the way, for one of the awards. And imagine that must be difficult to judge art. Maybe more difficult if the artist, if it is art you can't really relate to or do not make yourself. So without saying too much, because you can't just but what kind of criteria do you use when you have to judge art? And have you done this before? Things like that.
I have judged it before, but I mean, small scale, you know, this is international level. So it's a new experience for me in that sense. But I know I feel confident, though. You know, I've immersed myself in art my entire life. I have seen so many different styles, and I think I've got a good eye. You know, it's a mixture of intuition and knowledge. It's hard.
I personally always think, because I've curated things too, it's always first the knowledge you have, and then it's the intuition that comes with it. Because when you have the knowledge, you can let that go, and you can use the intuition.
So I feel like I've got a really sound foundation for this. But I'm looking forward to it. Like, it's another new experience to me, and I love a new challenge. So I can't wait to see what that brings.
Well, I wish you good luck with it.
Thank you. I mean, I think I'll be learning a lot from the panel, the other judges on the panel, because really an honor to be sitting alongside them.
Nice. And what tips, and that's the last question, what tips do you have for artists when it comes to their visibility? You just mentioned one thing. You used Impressionism because, kind of your art, but also because people know that term. what tips do you have?
Oh goodness.
A few. You don't
How
have
long
to
have you
mentor.
got? Yeah. How long have you got? Okay, so I think first and foremost, keep creating. A lot of artists say, oh, I can't share anything because I've not got anything new. I mean, you know, you can share old work, absolutely, but it does seem to be that artists are more readily share their new work. So the first thing is just to keep creating. And I think nothing beats meeting an artist in person. So I think I've really made great gains with my visibility when I've done shows and exhibitions. You know, you're making a real and memorable, lasting connection with people when you meet them in person. So, and if you do that, then definitely start building your mailing list, because that is an incredibly powerful tool.
Put a book down there, and
people don't miss emails. You know, they might, like social media posts, especially Instagram, Facebook, only last about 24 hours really. But an email, you know, if someone might have received it a week ago and they, you know, will still open it, and they'll be hopefully more alert than, you know, people on their phone. If they're just scrolling, they're just trying to rest, aren't they, and recuperate after their day. But on an email, you might get someone who's a bit more attentive.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
But I think, I think you can do a lot online as well as the in-person. There are strategies, you know, you can use the algorithm, for example, on Instagram. Hashtags, I think, play their part, but to really, like, the algorithm is like think of it as like a little robot, you know, give it a face, personify it. And this little robot just needs to learn what it is you want from it. You know, try and think of it as something that's going to help you. So, for example, if you're going to be posting a reel, interact, and I'm talking like liking and commenting, not just an emoji, like actually write something on some accounts within your niche that are bigger than you, with more of a following than you. Okay. Like let's say 5 different accounts and that could be 15 minutes before you post your reel. You've plugged into the algorithm that you want your post to be shown in front of their audiences. Okay. Because their audiences will be same as yours, right? So you're giving it the instruction. So then hopefully your reel is gonna gain greater traction. Even things like reels are really great. You know, Instagram is preferring the reels now to static posts. If you have your face in the reel, that helps. If you want to see the artist, and if you like have captions as well, you don't have to talk over the top, but if it has written text within the reel, people are much more likely to stop and read that, because quite often they'll be scrolling and they'll have their phone on silent, they won't hear anything. So just a few tips like that.
Wonderful. I learned a lot now. And it's in my head. I will write it down after this. Experiment with it. It's
so
amazing.
much more,
though. Oh, I bet. But you are a mentor, and people should go to the VAA, become a member, and then apply for mentorship with Karen or with you, because Karen is also amazing.
Yes, she is amazing. And the beauty of mentorship is that it's absolutely tailored to your own specific needs. You know, everyone has different commitments in their life, and you know, different goals, you know, different ideas of what their success is. And when you work with a mentor, it's absolutely on point for you. You know, the books are amazing, but they can also contribute to overwhelm because they're so full. You know, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. No. You just need to do what is gonna work for you.
Exactly.
And just 3 things a day. You know, you
can and that's a good one too. Another thing, look, I always do 6 things a day, and at the end I'm so not happy with myself because I only came to 3. Because the 3 things I do are already, I need to be in my studio, I need to work on my color course, I'm making an extensive one. And I need to do my preps, preliminary research for a PhD proposal. You need to do that every day, Karen.
No, that's separate. Yeah, one of those things on each day. That's a big thing. You know, all of those things require deep work, and I'd say for deep work you need at least 3 hours.
Yeah,
and you know, you've got to eat at some point. I've got to
also,
take my kids to school and pick them up, and you know, all the other things, swimming lessons. So a lot of people overestimate what they can achieve in a day. But really underestimate what they can achieve in a year, because you might only do 1 hour, maybe, like, you know, when I had tiny babies and I could only do 1 hour a day, but I did 1 hour a day, and then that's 365 hours, which is a lot more than nothing.
But that is so important, because I read a book, Atomic Habits. It starts with the little steps.
Yes.
And just frequently do them. It's better to do them 5 minutes every day to make it into a habit than trying to shoehorn yourself in 8 hours a day. You can't do that. It just, you get overwhelmed. And then you can get stuck. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk with you. And it's way too short, but you have another meeting with the VAA. And one last thing, where can people find you? And I will put it in the show notes.
Oh, thanks. So I have a website. It's amyjobes.com. So Amy, AMYJOBES.com. And I've got my mailing list on there, and all the socials, I'm Amy Jobes Art. So Instagram at Amy Jobes Art. Okay,
I will put it there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
for
everything.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks so much.